Hello, everyone. Rob Guest from football.london here, and welcome to the latest episode of Gold Guest Talk Tottenham, sponsored by NordVPN, or should I say, Guest and Wilmot Talk Tottenham, as Alistair Gold is away on holiday this week. So, as you're probably well aware, joining me is head of football at football.london. It's Lee Wilmot. Lee, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Guest and guest, isn't it? Without the gold.
Well, we can do. Guest and Wilmot, whatever we like, really.
Yeah, Ali's off gallivanting on the other side of the world, and looking at his Instagram page is very much enjoying meeting some marsupials in the land down under. So, yeah, well deserved time off for him, and it's good to be back. I did enjoy seeing a few comments on YouTube and stuff saying, "Where's Wilmot gone?" After I'd spent a few weeks with Ali when you were away. So it's always nice to hear that you're appreciated. I won't talk about those that hated my guts and didn't like any of my opinions and didn't want me back.
Right. So there's been no games at Spurs over the past week or so. It's the international
Boring,
break,
isn't it?
the second one of the season. Yeah, it just drag on. And I think the worst thing is with this one, we've got to wait a couple of extra days. Spurs are back in action on Monday night against Fulham, but stuff still has been happening in the world of Tottenham Hotspur. And first of all, we're going to have a bit of a dive into the international break so far. And yesterday, I was doing the plan for the podcast in the morning. I was thinking, international break so far, it's looking pretty good from a Tottenham perspective. Then what happened? Son playing for South Korea looks like he has a bit of a injury issue, and the same with Cristian Romero as well. Certainly not the news Ange Postecoglou wants going into Monday's game against Fulham.
No, definitely not. And do you know what? I've seen the videos, the little videos that have come out of watching Jurgen Klinsmann on the touchline, and clearly just the fact that he didn't use him use Sonny in the first game, obviously, just shows he still cares a little bit about Tottenham. And then you see there was it was planned in the 60th minute. They were always going to ask him if he wanted to come off. And yeah, just the video of Jurgen Klinsmann doing this to him. Do you want to come off, Sonny? And he's the captain of his country, isn't he? He loves his country. And he said afterwards he didn't want to let anyone down. Loads of people come out to watch him. He's not arrogant, but he knows loads of people come out to watch him, perhaps more than they do his teammates. So yeah, he didn't want to let anyone down. He played through the pain a little bit, which is always a bit of a worry when it comes to Spurs. But as you said, we've got the extra couple of days on everyone else. The Monday night game. Hopefully he comes back today, tomorrow at the latest, you would have thought. And hopefully everything's okay. He's got 4 days then at least to rest up. And the fact that he played through it means it can't be that serious. So yeah, if he's got an extra couple of days to kind of rest up, then fingers crossed he'll be okay for Monday night because we need him.
Yeah, I suppose the main fear going into the international break in regard to Son was the fact that since September's international break, he's not been at 100% fit. Ange Postecoglou and the Tottenham team have been, managing his fitness levels. I think he'd come off in the last 10 to 20 minutes of the last 4 Premier League games. And given he wasn't given a rest in September when South Korea played, you were just thinking Jurgen Klinsmann's gone to keep on playing him because they've been in a poor run of form and they've needed the wins. But luckily, I think it was last Friday, they were first in action against Tunisia. From a Tottenham's perspective, really good news that he was named on the bench, and you were still thinking, well, he's probably going to come on in the second half and get some minutes. But yeah, Klinsmann did Ange Postecoglou and Spurs a favour by not bringing him on. And yeah, back in the team yesterday for their 6-0 win over Vietnam. A good day for Son in terms of scoring a goal and assisting and playing his part. He did speak to the media, I think it was after the game, and he's basically on about his limited participation in training ahead of the game. So that really does, suggest that he's not 100% fit just yet. But what he did mention, obviously, you'd said that he wanted to play for the fans who were there. And in another interview, he's mentioned that I think he got a bit of a knock on his thigh in the first half. carried on. But he did say, you know, the minutes, what he got under his belt, the full game, it's only going to help him in terms of his match fitness. But I think some will have seen the clips going around on social media. First one of him limping down the tunnel at half time, and then there's another one where he's on his haunches grimacing towards the end of the second half. But it can't have been that serious, because surely if it was, he'd have just said, right, I need to come off now, needs to manage my minutes. So I suppose what it does give Spurs a chance is a couple more days, you know, extra rest for him, with the game being on the Monday. As soon as he's back at Hotspur away from South Korea, they'll be assessing him and just making sure he's in the right position, so he can take his place in the game on Monday night at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So obviously, with a bit of an injury scare over Sonny, there's certainly one with Cristian Romero as well. He picked up a knock 5 minutes into Argentina's 2-0 win over Peru. Carried on. It was a knock on his ankle. I think a few of the reporters who were at the game in Peru basically said that he did appear to be in some discomfort, played on, but it was a couple of minutes after the restart when he was withdrawn, and Pizzella came on in his place. I had a look at Lionel Scaloni's post-match comments, but there was nothing about Romero. That everything was just about Messi and the win.
Shock.
So yeah, shock. So it's just going to be one of these. We'll have to wait and see. And as is the case with Son, it's one of these where Tottenham will assess him. They've got the extra few days, and fingers crossed he will be back to play against Fulham, because this is one position where Tottenham don't want to lose a player.
Yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? That love him or hate him, Davinson Sanchez leaving did really leave Spurs light in that centre back area. He's another one that you're always concerned about when he goes on international duty, not just because of picking up an injury, just because of where he is. He has to travel around the world playing for Argentina, and it's always long trips there and long trips back, and you never know whether he's going to be 100% when he comes back. But again, the Monday night game hopefully will work to Spurs' advantage. The one thing I was going to ask you, I suppose, is if he doesn't play, if he's not fit, who would you go with at centre back? Because obviously, I think everyone's been a little bit surprised that Ashley Phillips has been on the bench so quickly after moving from Blackburn. And seems like the kind to go, do you know what? Let's throw Ashley Phillips in and see what he's made of.
It's a really tough one, to be honest, because Eric Dyer was on the bench last time out at Luton. So if you're going on the pecking order from the last game and who was on the bench, then you're thinking it'd be Eric Dyer. But Ashley Phillips has clearly made a big impression on Ange Postecoglou since he's arrived at the club. That's why he's been on the bench, you know, a few times. He's a player who's good on the ball, very tall, you know, powerful, who, you know, can be a big player for Tottenham in the future, because he's got all the attributes Ange Postecoglou wants in the manager. And yeah, I probably agree with you in terms of, I don't think he'd have any qualms about throwing Ashley Phillips into, you know, a match situation, because clearly he's good enough if he's considering him for the first team. And I mean, it is against Fulham, no disrespect. Maybe I'd have a bit more, you know, doubts if it was, you know, Arsenal or Man City travelling to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Monday. But then again, do you go for the experience of Eric Dyer? I don't know. I know who probably Tottenham fans would want in the team alongside Mickey van der Ven if it comes to it and Romero does miss out. I don't know if I'd
I suppose the key thing there would be, if Ashley Phillips were to come in, it is two young centre-backs that don't know the league alongside each other. Mickey van der Ven's obviously fitted in really well alongside the kind of more experienced Cristian Romero, who's got a year in the Premier League under his belt, and there's that kind of dynamic. It would be, two young centre-backs alongside each other, so he might side with Eric Dyer in that regard.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he probably would side with that. It's just for that experience, but Dyer will be coming into a potential game rusty. So he's not even played yet this season. no minutes all. And I mean, that's a totally different change for him, because in previous years he's been a regular starter at centre-back for Spurs. So, yeah, as I was saying, you just fingers crossed the issue isn't too serious with Cristian Romero and he can take his place in the team, because he's just been a standout player for Spurs over the course of this campaign. And I think his game certainly got better under Ange Postecoglou.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, he's one. There's a few. I think I've spoken about it before, and I think you guys have probably spoken about it in the podcast before. The starting 11 at Spurs is quality, and I think you can see them challenging for the top 3 or 4 this season if that starting 11 stays fit and healthy. It's when you peel back a little bit and go a little bit beneath. I'm sure Ange will be looking at the January transfer window to make some additions, particularly with Basuma and Sarr to go off to the African Cup of Nations and Sonny going to the Asian Games as well. Once you get a little bit below that 11, that's when things can start to crack a little bit, I think, in terms of the squad depth. So, yeah, you don't want Romero going out injured. You don't want Son going out injured. You don't want Maddison going out injured, who I know we're going to talk about next, obviously. So if any of those do drop off, you do start to not fear, because I think the players will have it drilled into them how Ange wants to play, and I think they can then pick up the baton, but they're just not at the same level, essentially, I think, below.
Yeah, very much so. Before we move on to James Maddison, just sticking with the Argentina games, whilst there's probably are some concerns over Romero after going off early in the second half, I think one positive Ange Postecoglou and Tottenham can take from the Argentina games is we've seen the return of Giovanni Lo Celso. He was probably a standout player for Spurs in pre-season, some really good showings when he came off the bench, but those opportunities just haven't been there for him so far during the Premier League campaign, especially, with James Maddison thriving in the Tottenham team and just pulling the strings. And Lo Celso was given an opportunity at Fulham, didn't appear for the second half due to a quad strain. And unfortunately, he's just been in the treatment room since. Did appear back on the bench Luton last time out, but unfortunately, he wasn't given the match time. But for Lo Celso, he got 1 minute plus stoppage time in, I think it was Argentina's first game. I think it was Paraguay they were playing. Then he got about 12 minutes plus stoppage time against Peru last night. And yeah, I think although the player himself would like a lot more minutes, just to get back to that true match sharpness, what he will certainly be lacking at the moment, I think that is a positive for him.
Yeah, it's I just don't. He's only playing for that one role, I think, really, isn't he? He's playing for that James Maddison role, and given how Maddison started the season, there's just no opportunity for him to slot in there, really. And given the injury as well, it hasn't helped. But he can't play in that too, where Basuma and Sarr are at the minute, and Bentancur will be in there when he comes back from injury. I don't think he's able. Maybe not able, but I don't think he's as good as Kulusevski or Son playing off the left. Solomon, Brennan Johnson. It's only one role in the team that he's playing for, and unfortunately, that's the role where our best player this season is playing. So there's really no real chance for him.
Yeah, I think what also will have helped Lo Celso is the fact that he's gone away on Argentina international duty, and it's such a tight, close-knit group of players. I think they all love going away on Argentina international duty, and you can see from the fact that they've won the Copa America, the finalissima against Italy at Wembley last year, and then the World Cup. So I think that will have also given them a boost and a bit of a lift. And now you're hoping that you probably will see a bit more of him in the coming weeks. I think if you're going off his pre-season form, he's still got a lot to offer. He more than played his part during his time on loan at Villarreal over the last 18 months. But it's like, as you said, he's probably only the really one role in the team he's playing for. And if Maddison's playing so well, it's like, when is he going to get a kick?
But he's got to take the opportunity when it comes to him. We have seen Maddison come off after 70 minutes, 75 minutes in a lot of games so far this season. So yeah, it's not what you want, 15, 20 minutes here and there, but he's got to show what he can do in those 15 and 20 minutes and kind of force Ange Postecoglou's hand, essentially.
Yeah. In terms of James Maddison, then, I think this international break has probably gone to plan for Tottenham, really. I think it was 70 odd minutes against Australia and then a non-used substitute last night against Italy. So Maddison, given he's not been 100% fitness in recent weeks and they've been, managing his minutes like they have with Son, he should be fit and raring to go against Fulham on Monday.
Absolutely. It was nice to see him on social media as well, being self-deprecating with his shot that went off for a throw-in. He seems to be enjoying himself, just loving life at the minute, whether it's on the pitch or off the pitch. He's just a very happy soul, and that can only be a massive benefit to Spurs. And yeah, not playing against Italy. I think Spurs fans, it would have been kind of 50-50, really. You want to see the Tottenham players playing matches. You want to see how they get on, and you want them to playing at the highest level and playing for their countries. But at the same time, you think, I'm glad he's not playing. I'm glad he's getting a rest. He'll be nice and fit when it comes to coming back to the Premier League. So he will have enjoyed the England experience. He's not always kind of been. He's not always been in the squad, as it were. He's had to work really hard to become a regular member of that squad under Gareth Southgate. So he would have enjoyed the experience and been with a lot of his friends in there, and would have been disappointed not to play any part against Italy. But great news for Spurs, and yeah, he should be 100% fit. You would expect for Monday night.
One Tottenham player who did play last night at Wembley, Destiny Doggy, he made his full debut for the Azzurri. He came off the bench the other day against Malta for the final 10 minutes or so, and then Luciano Spalletti handed him his full debut last night. What did you make of his performance then, from the bits you've seen of the game?
Yeah, I didn't watch the entire game last night, but I've seen bits and pieces of it. I caught the chance that he had, that Jordan Pickford saved. Really great movement. It's what we've come to expect already in his Tottenham career. Just bombing down that left-hand side, playing a ball inside, and then carrying on his run essentially into the box and creating chances. We've seen a lot at Spurs of him kind of carrying on that run and getting to the byline and cutting the ball back, whereas last night it was a case of getting into the box and having a shot himself. And I thought it was very unlucky, actually. It was a very good save from Pickford, with his weaker right foot as well. And as you said, he played a part in the Italy goal. He's fast becoming one of my favourite Tottenham players, really. And he's 20, 21 years old. Just incredible talent, and has just taken to the Premier League and English football. Obviously, he was playing for his country last night, but taken to it just like a duck to water. He's brilliant. I think he's got the world at his feet, essentially.
Yeah, he's been fantastic so far, and going on his brilliant start to life at Tottenham, I think a few fans were, questioning why on earth he wasn't in the squad back in September, but deservedly got his call up for October's fixtures. And yeah, from what I saw last night, really good shift from the player. He played a big part in the first goal when they were trying to work it out from the back, and then he made the run forward, what sparked the goal for Gianluca Scamacca. And yeah, he was really unlucky as well not to mark his full debut with that goal, because it was a really nice turn in the box and good effort, but Jordan Pickford was there to deny him. Did have to play the match on a bit of a tightrope, really, because he got that early booking for a foul on Phil Foden, and he was perhaps a bit lucky not to give away a penalty in the second half. There was a bit of a collision with Foden. He definitely caught him, but referee waved play on, so perhaps lucky to get away with that. And then he was substituted on the hour mark for Di Marco, who plays for Inter Milan, who's a very good left back. So there's a lot of competition there, but I think he's certainly done his chances of being Italy's number one left back at the Euros no harm at all. I think it was a really promising display from the player. And having a look at the play ratings on Football Italia, it was actually him and Scamacca who came out on top for them. 6.5 out of 10 they got. So yeah, plenty of promising signs for Doggy. Another player.
Sorry, just before there's a nice video. I think I saw it on Reddit this morning, of the end of the match, essentially. And the camera's obviously focused on the England players in a group, having their little kind of debrief all together. And there's little focus on 3 players in the centre circle, essentially. It's Guillermo Vicario, Destiny Udogie, and in the middle of them is James Maddison. So that Tottenham connection, obviously clearly there already this early in the season. The 3 of them, just Maddison getting in there with the two Italian lads and having a conversation with them at the end of the match rather than being with the England crew. England fans might not like that Maddison's not there with the England players, but it's good. It's nice from a Spurs perspective that there's that camaraderie and that friendship is already there between players like that.
Yeah, did you also spot Vicario and Harry Kane speaking at the end of the game as well? Yeah, probably telling him he'd have saved his penalty and the second goal as well. But I think for Vicario, I think he's just gonna have to be patient and just bide his time for this opportunity in goal, because Donnarumma's undoubtedly their number 1, and it was probably the same when Buffon was in goal for years and years, and whoever was number 2 and number 3, it's just like just a waiting game, really. But if Vicario carries on and Destiny as well, then if Italy do make it to Euro 2024, then you'd certainly fancy the chances of being in the squad. Another player who did make his international debut over the past week, Mickey van der Ven. He came off the bench for Netherlands against France and then did exactly the same on Monday as well against Greece, helped them to a very important win. He's more than deserved his international call-up. Yeah,
100%. I don't know what more I can say about Mickey van der Ven, really, since he's been at the club. He's just been outstanding and a breath of fresh air at the back as well, considering it was a position that was so poor for Spurs last season. 63 goals conceded in the Premier League, was so bad defensively. And to just come in and kind of rip that up and say, look at me, I'm here. I'm the saviour, as it were, which he kind of has been. He's been brilliant and scored the all-important goal against Luton as well. Thoroughly deserved to be part of that Netherlands squad. And given his age, I can't see it being too long before he kind of cements a place in that first team and makes it his for years to come. Because he is that good, and he's got so much more to give, so many more years ahead of him. Yeah, absolutely, thoroughly deserved. I've not seen. I think I've seen little clips, bits and pieces, but not seen much of the 20 or so minutes or however many he had in those 2 games. But yeah, thoroughly deserved, and he'll grow in confidence from that. I think every player will, won't they, when they make their debut for their country?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, and there's plenty more minutes for him to come for Netherlands in the future. Really, really impressive start to the season. And yeah, just keep going the way he is. And if Netherlands do qualify for Euro 2024, then I'm sure he'll be there in their squad for the tournament in Germany next year. One player who, probably will be hopeful of being in Euro 2024 next year is Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. Denmark have won the past 2 games. I think that's put them in a decent position to, qualify for the tournament. And
they conceded a goal against San Marino, though, didn't they? What is that about?
I know. I mean, 2-1 win in the end. Usually when you're playing San Marino, you're winning by, 5, 6, 7. And I think once the equalised, you're probably thinking, San Marino might get something here. But
how many times did San Marino equalise against anyone?
Very rarely. Did you see the celebrations, though?
No, I haven't seen the celebrations. No, I'll have to look for those at the end of the podcast.
Literally, everyone from the bench came on the pitch, just a pylon, whoever scored it. Really, really good. If you've not seen it, do have a look.
Well, yes, it's Denmark as well. It's not like Denmark are a kind of little nation in footballing terms.
Yeah, no, that's some goings. I think it was 0-0 for quite a lot of the contest. So Denmark made hard work of it, but for Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, it's he got 90 minutes under his belt in that game, then against Kazakhstan last week as well, and given his bit part role at Tottenham so far this season, and the fact that he probably will start against Fulham, you'd think, with his Basuma being suspended, I think that certainly comes as a boost to him and Ange Postecoglou. When he was away on international duty in September, he was, quizzed about his Tottenham future. given he didn't get a move in the summer when it looked like he probably would be heading for the exit door. As one of the senior players in the Denmark squad, he was put in front of the media again, and he was asked about his situation, and basically he was saying he's had no explanation for his lack of minutes, but it's just one of these things where he just has to focus on his work, just learn from it and accept it. And I think, when Pierre's speaking, he's always truthful. He'll say it how it is, and I think that's all he really can do at the minute. And that, as Ali said on the previous podcast, you might have players on the periphery of the first team at the beginning of the season, but come the end of the season, there's someone who was on the edges of the team who is a starter, and that could potentially be Højbjerg. He's got an opportunity potentially on Monday, providing that Ange Postecoglou does name in the team, and he's got to take it.
Yeah, I think it looks like it'll be 2 games at least for him, doesn't it? He's going to have this one. You would think. I would say 80% sure that he will get the nod to replace Bissouma on Monday night. And then if Bissouma comes back in against Palace, then because of the ruling around the yellow card and the red card, Bissouma is still on 4 yellow cards, essentially. So there is going to be another game very soon, given the way Bissouma's been playing and the way he plays his football. There is going to be another yellow card soon, you would expect. So that'll be another ban, 1-game ban for Bissouma. So Højbjerg's going to get a chance. And then we're moving into November almost. We've 1 game almost definitely this Monday, then another game perhaps moving into November. Then Bissouma and Sarr go away to the African Cup. Well, we expect they'll be chosen and go away for the African Cup of Nations in January. So he will get his chances. I think there was a lot of talk about him leaving, obviously, in the summer. I wouldn't be shocked if those rumours started again in January just because of his position in the team. But I think he's a good squad player to have around. If you're losing Sarr and you're losing Bissouma in January, there's got to be a plan to bring someone else in if we're willing to let Højbjerg go in January, because he's going to be an important player, particularly in that period, and that's when he has his opportunity essentially to keep Bissouma out of the team when he comes back in February. Because if Højbjerg plays as well as we know he can play, he was such an integral player in the last few seasons. He can cement his role in the team and give Bissouma a kind of a task on his hands to get back in.
Yeah, I think with Højbjerg, he's certainly not getting the minutes that he clearly wants or he thinks he deserves in the Tottenham team, because prior to this season, he'd started 109 of 114 Premier League games for Spurs. He was played every single minute in his first season at the club when Jose Mourinho was manager. And it's one of these where he's just had to get used to a bit part role, but I think he's still got a big part to play for Postecoglou and Tottenham. We've already seen that this season. When he has come on in games, helped him, see out the Manchester United game. Bournemouth as well, that experience was needed when Bournemouth looked like they're going to, score and put themselves on level terms. Liverpool game, up the tempo, in barely any time when he came on, just got him, passing a bit quicker, and eventually led to that winner with Joel Matip putting the ball through his own goal. And then I think you saw the value of him last time out at Luton, and Luton having a numerical advantage. Højbjerg just helping Spurs get control in the midfield, just sweeping things up. And I think you can't underestimate, the leadership qualities and experience he brings to the team. Given his contract status, he's going to be 18 months on his deal by the time January comes around. From a financial perspective, January probably is the time to go, because if he goes into or in and around the final 12 months of his contract, then clubs will be looking to sign him on the cheap. So from a financial perspective, it's the best time to let him go. But then again, if you keep him at the club and he plays a big role in potentially helping Spurs achieve a top 4 finish, or maybe even more, then how much money is that going to bring into the club? Yeah. So it's one of these, I think, whilst there's probably value in terms of selling him in January due to his contract status, I think there's more value in keeping him around. So for me, it's a no-brainer. Whether or not the player wants to stay or not, we'll find out, because I think if he's still playing a bit part role come January, then you can see him seriously pushing for a move. But I think you've just got to do what's best for Tottenham right now, and for me, that's just keeping him.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. And I was just going to say the way Postecoglou plays football is so intense. It's kind of so front foot and so high energy, high octane. There are always changes in matches. So there are always opportunities for him to come on, and he's shown that he's capable when he has come on. He'll obviously want to turn those substitute appearances into starts somewhere along the line. And yeah, he's more than capable of doing that.
Yeah. Someone who will be hoping for a big impact after the international break is Richarlison. He's been away on international duty for Brazil. Not really a good round of fixtures for Brazil or Richarlison. I think they drew the first game with Venezuela, probably a game they were expected to win comfortably. That was 1-1, and then they lost 2-0 against Uruguay in the early hours of Wednesday morning for Richarlison. Started the first game, I think he was withdrawn after an hour for Gabriel Jesus. Just having a look at the reports, it sounds like he's not had a shot on goal, but it's one of these where he's making the right runs, but he's not been picked out. And then yesterday he started on the bench with Jesus starting through the middle. Neymar got injured. Richarlison came on at half-time, and once again, no shots for him. So I think the international break, I think he needed the international break, especially after what happened in the Luton game when he missed those chances early on. But whilst it hasn't worked out for him, it didn't work out for him last time on the Brazil duty in September, but he came back and made this huge impact in the first game against Sheffield United with a goal and assist in stoppage time. So whereas he might have struggled this time, he can still have a big say in these coming games.
You're clearly hoping he will. This must be hurting. The fact you have to keep talking about him not scoring, not having shots, not scoring, and the confidence not being there.
Yeah, he needs to run the games, and he needs to, be contributing in the final third, because you're going to have Brendan Johnson coming back soon. Potentially, maybe even the Fulham game on Monday, when he could be in the team. So, although Spurs are rather light on attackers at the moment, with even Perisic being injured, the man of Solomon, Richarlison has got to start, contributing those numbers in the final third, or else he's going to find himself on the bench.
Yeah, 100%. I suppose with Ali not here, I should be the Richarlison bad cop, and even things out a little bit. But you've just said it there. He has got to start producing, because Spurs just can't afford for him not to. There are going to be games where Maddison doesn't have his best game, or Sonny doesn't have his best game, and you need someone else to step up. And it's difficult to see at the minute Richarlison doing that, which is a real shot. I've always been a big fan, and it is hard watching him struggle. But we can't keep saying, oh, he needs an international break to get his confidence back. Oh, it didn't happen. He needs a run of games to get his international to get his confidence back. It doesn't happen. How long do you let it go on for? How long does he get essentially to get that confidence back and to kind of show his worth in this team? He's clearly capable. He's clearly got the ability in there. We're just not seeing it, unfortunately. Yeah,
100%. I think one other player we need to mention, obviously from the international break, is Dejan Kulusevski. Scary situation on Monday in Brussels, with obviously two Swedish natives being, shot and killed before the game. The game being played for 45 minutes, and then the Sweden players discovering at half-time the events of what happened in Brussels, and Victor Lindelof being the captain speaking with the team and coming to a decision, and then speaking to the Belgian counterparts, and rightfully so, the game didn't continue. And because of the situation at this time, with the government still at large, stadium was locked down for like 2.5 hours until they could start to evacuate. So yeah, really, really scary situation for Kulusevski and, you know, the Sweden team, Sweden fans, everyone in the stadium. So it sounds like it was one of these, as soon as I could evacuate, the Sweden team made the way to the airport and then, you know, flew home. And yeah, not a good situation at all, that.
Football takes a backseat in times like that, doesn't it? It's just shows that we all love it, and it's all kind of, we'll always look forward to Saturdays and watching our team and that, but there are bigger things going on in the world than football, and to have that around when you're in the middle of a game, essentially, it's just horrifying, really, that these things happen. And yeah, just thankfully that everyone involved in that is safe, and thoughts go out to the two people that were shot dead, obviously.
Yeah, as we're at the halfway stage of the pod, Ali's not here, so I'm going to tell you the benefits about using NordVPN. So if you're not aware by now, the Gold Guest Talk Tottenham podcast is sponsored by NordVPN, and you can use the service in a host of different ways that enhance your internet experience. NordVPN is the fastest VPN in the world, and that means there's no buffering, no lagging, and you can stream your favorite shows from anywhere in the world without your bandwidth throttling. You can use Nord to set up your device to thinking it's back in the UK and just watch your shows as normal. Not only that, but the outlay on the NordVPN subscription is cheaper for you in the long run, and that's because you can purchase streaming services in other countries at a much cheaper rate. So, for example, you can change your virtual location to Australia, where Ali is enjoying himself right now, and you can maybe book flights from Australia or any other countries you want to book flights from. And also, security-wise, it's a great system for pretty much going as far as you possibly can to stop people, you know, stealing things off your device if you're connected to a public Wi-Fi. Such a clever app that you can install on any device that you've got, quite frankly, and is very easy to set up, and you get straight on and going with it. There's a whole host of other benefits from signing up to NordVPN. So why not give it a go? You can grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/goldguest to get your huge discount off your NordVPN plan, plus 4 additional months for free. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee.
Well done.
Right. Thank you. I think Ali can get back on, you know, advertising the benefits of NordVPN once he is back from Australia. But yeah, right. Next up, well, since the last time we recorded a pod, which was last Monday, Tottenham have confirmed Johan Lange as technical director with effect from November the 1st. Lange, you might be aware of, had a role at Aston Villa previously. He was sporting director at the club from June 2020, and in recent months he's been global director of football development and international academies. That was from June. So what Tottenham are getting in Johan Lange is someone who has a vast knowledge of European football, very data-led. He'll work between, obviously, Ange Postecoglou and Scott Mon, who's chief football officer, and Lange's basically responsibility at Tottenham is going to be for recruitment, analytics, and talent identification across Spurs' senior and academy teams. He certainly made an impact at Aston Villa. Certainly when he first went to the club, signed Ollie Watkins, Matty Cash, Emi Martinez as well. 3 players who've been, you know, big players for, I think it was Dean Smith, Steven Gerrard, and now Unai Emery. So certainly getting someone who's got an eye for a player, and fingers crossed he will be able to have an impact. And it's going to be quite soon as well, because, I mean, we're midway through October. January transfer window's not that far away.
It's where his work starts now, essentially. Just starting to look into what's going on and what Spurs need, essentially. I think the thing with anyone coming into that role is not to get too bogged down in that kind of the social media and the kind of the finger of blame pointing society that we seem to be in at the minute. In any role, you're going to have successes and you're going to have failures, essentially. So there's no real need to go and look at oh, this player didn't work out. This player didn't work out. Oh, he's rubbish, isn't he? Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's get him moving. And as you've said there, Ollie Watkins, hell of a signing for Aston Villa. Emi Martinez has been brilliant as well. So yeah, not everything's gonna go right. We've got players in the Spurs squad that have clearly not gone right at the minute. So yeah, no one's perfect. So let's give the man a chance to show what he can do. And yeah, it's, as you say, very soon that he's going to have to do that. January just around the corner. The one thing I was going to say, I don't know what you can say on it, but it might be just something that the kind of listeners and the audience are interested in. How does his role differ? Where does he fit into the hierarchy? With obviously Scott Munn there below, Daniel Levy, who has overall control of everything. Where does he fit in, and what are the kind of different roles those two do underneath Levy?
Well, he's going to be working between Ange Postecoglou and Scott Munn, who's Chief Football Officer. So as Spurs, pointed out in the statement, Lange's going to have that responsibility for recruitment, analytics and talent identification across Spurs' senior and academy teams. And I suppose really with Munn being ahead of him, that he will be reporting to Munn as well. But Lange's going to have this big impact, in trying to shape Spurs' squad going forward and being that senior and the academy teams as well. Something he's done at Villa, brought in some good players at Villa and then also some youngsters as well. So, I mean, in terms of Lange, if you've not already seen on the football.london website that there's a bit of a Q&A Ali did before he went away with Ashley Preece, who's the Aston Villa correspondent at Birmingham Live. So that's a really good insight into Lange, his role at Villa, what happened, why it's not, maybe worked out, and why he's left, because it does sound like he was probably edged out a little bit when Unai Emery came in, because he does have his own way of working, likes to work with, a team who he has done previously before, and that's why Monkey, who was at Sevilla, has come in. That's seen Lange's role change and obviously depart to Spurs. So, yeah, for Lange, he's going to be working between Postecoglou and Munn. Obviously, Munn being ahead of him, he'll be reporting for him. But as I was saying, big role in terms of, strengthening Tottenham, making key changes to the squad and helping, the team progress forward.
Yeah, and I think you've written a piece already, was it yesterday or today, about the work he needs to do in the transfer window already. We've already spoken about the fact that Basuma and Sarr will be off on international duty in January. I think with Cristian Romero injury concern at the minute, I think there's a defensive need in January as well. And we've spoken at length on a number of podcasts about Richarlison. We've done it again today. There's probably a need up front as well. There's three kind of, you look at it and think, oh, we could probably do with the defender. Well, we could probably do with the midfielder. Oh yeah, we could probably do with a forward as well. So yeah, he's got a lot of work to do in January, hasn't he?
Yeah, very much so. January is not the most active of transfer markets. I think in the past couple, Spurs probably only signed like 2 players. Last one, it was Arnaud Danjuma on loan, and then Pedro Porro initially.
That worked out, didn't it?
Yeah, Porro initially on loan before he became a permanent one, and then previous window, I can't remember the previous January window. I'm not sure, but Spurs usually aren't active. I think the case. Oh, it was Benson, Kerr, Kulusevski.
Yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
How have I forgot that?
Yeah, how? Yeah,
yeah. January, it's usually there's not a lot of players available, and if they are, clubs are wanting big money. Majority of movement comes in the summer. That's a given. So, yeah, Lange has quite a bit to do. I think looking at it, new centre back, because they didn't get a third centre back in the summer. That's got to be top priority, because we've seen at the moment with Romero picking up a knock on international duty. There's a concern there. It's like, who comes in? You want in another really good player who can, challenge Romero and Van der Ven for a regular spot in the Spurs team. So for me, that's a priority. And, Tottenham traditionally late movers in the transfer market. if Lange can come in, make an immediate impact and have someone, the first week of January, that'd be brilliant because, already we know they need a centre-back. That's clear for everyone to see. Then midfield, Spurs have, a decent amount of midfield options at the moment. But as you were saying, Sarr and Bissouma will be heading away for the Africa Cup of Nations. Quite how long they'll be away, not sure.
We will be back to that midfield in January, but the Bentancur Højbjerg midfield in January, won't we, for a month?
Yeah, well, that's the good thing with, Bentancur looking like he'll be edging closer to a return, as Ange Postecoglou said it'll probably be November by the time he's integrated back into the first team. But because he's coming back from such a big injury, there's no guarantee that he's going to hit the ground running and he'll be exactly the same player who he was before the injury. It might take him, quite a bit of time to get back to his previous heights. So I think there needs to be one midfielder certainly coming in. There's Oliver Skip as well, who's not really played a lot of football. That's another option. But for you then, if Højbjerg goes, is that two midfielders?
Yeah. Maybe, yeah. But as you said, do you want to be going and changing your team up that much in the January transfer window? There's always a premium. It's always more expensive. People don't want to lose their players mid-season. I think one is a definite for January. And if Højbjerg goes, it might force Spurs to look again. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting January for Spurs this time. Ange Postecoglou hasn't been shy in making moves in January before in previous jobs, has he? So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. One absolutely is a must, and one in defence I think is a must as well. Do you think the club will look for a forward as well?
I think they probably need to. I think priority's got to be defence first and foremost. Centre back's got to come in. As a forward, well, the thing is at the moment, even Perisic's probably played his last game for the club unless he can make a swift comeback from this ACL injury. Manor Solomon's 3 to 4 months, so that's going to be January, February time when he's back. Son's going to be away on Asian Cup duty, and you'd think probably for a month as well. South Korea should, go far in that tournament. Yeah, I think they need to. You've got Brian Hill, who's obviously back at the club, now back to fitness. He was in the squad against Luton. He's been training Hotspur way over the international break as he's not been on Spain duty. And it's a chance now for him, if he's given the minutes to show what he can do. He did that at the turn of the year against, Crystal Palace when he was handed the start. Portsmouth in the FA Cup, and you were thinking at the time, yeah, Antonio Conte will keep him at the club now. He's showing what he can do. This is what he needs. And eventually it led to him departing, Dan Juma coming in. That didn't work out. So Brian Hill's got to, take that opportunity with both hands when it comes his way. And there's young Alaho Belize. We've seen a little bit of him so far, a matter of minutes against Liverpool and Luton, but it's probably more than we expected from him. I think initially probably sounded like he was going to be a player who would be, adapting to Spurs and, the new lifestyle in England in the first part of the season, then hopefully playing a part in the second part of the campaign and, the coming years. But he's clearly impressed Postecoglou behind the scenes and, got some minutes so far. So he's another one we could maybe see a bit more of in the coming weeks. But for me, yeah, I think I'd be looking at another option. I don't know whether it'd be an outright striker or just a versatile option such as Brennan Johnson, who can play out wide and striker as well. Is that what you'd go for, versatility?
Yeah, and it's about priorities for me. Like if you ask any Spurs fan in the summer, the priority in the summer transfer window was we need a defender. We probably need 2 defenders. We definitely need a centre back. And Vicario came in, Maddison came in, which was a great signing. But the Spurs fans were starting to get antsy as yes, this is a great signing, but we need a defender. We need a defender. And then Manor Solomon came in and said, we still need a defender. And it took a long time. And it was only a week before the season started that Mickey van der Ven came in. January is only a month. So the priority has to be a defender for me. And we can't be waiting until the end of January for that defender to come in, or going with what we've got essentially until the summer. I think we need to get someone in. So let's get those priorities sorted, and the priority signings in. And I don't think a forward area is not necessarily a worry. I think we can probably get by with what we've got. Before we go in to speak about Fulham on Monday night, another little ad to get through to you. As Spurs fans listening to the pod, it doesn't get more exciting than it is at Tottenham Hotspur this season. And the best way to soak up all the atmosphere is inside premium hospitality. Guaranteed seats to all home matches, indulge in unforgettable dining experiences at Spurs' world-class stadium, and enjoy exclusive member-only events outside match day too. Premium at Tottenham Hotspur is unmatched. Visit tottenhamhotspur.com/premium to find out more.
Right, let's discuss Monday's game against Fulham then. Obviously, Spurs go into the return of Premier League football, top of the Premier League table.
Came back on after a weekend, obviously, Monday morning, thinking, it's the countdown to Premier League football again. And then suddenly think, 7 days before Tottenham play again.
Yeah, it's international breaks just drag so much. And then you've got this one with Spurs playing on the Monday, but I think it certainly does bring its advantages, this one, the Monday game.
Yes, definitely.
Especially with Son and Cristian Romero having a couple of injury issues on international duty. So Spurs will be getting 2 extra days rest compared to a number of Premier League teams, because you look at Liverpool going into this weekend's Merseyside derby, they've had Luis Diaz, Alisson, Darwin Núñez and Alexis McAllister playing football last night into the early hours of, Wednesday morning. And so when are they going to return to training?
I don't want to play into probably. I don't want to play into the kind of Liverpool conspiracy theories that go around all the time because it's Liverpool. But that stat was mad, wasn't it? That they after international breaks, they've played 14 times in the 12:30 slot on a Saturday, compared to the next best, which was Spurs at 6. That is mad, really. But I'm not one to sympathise with Liverpool, to be honest with you.
No, same here. They can have 12:30 slots all they want after international football, but you wouldn't want to be, Tottenham having that slot with Cristian Romero, Giovanni Celso coming back late, Sonny as well. It's one of these things. The Monday game does bring its advantages, but then again, you could probably look at the following week and go, well, we've got a Monday game here against Fulham and we've got a Friday game against Crystal Palace. Very rarely see that in the Premier League in terms of the scheduling. The team being on, telly twice within a matter of days. Because I think the biggest advantage of Spurs not being in Europe this season, whilst we want Tottenham in Europe, because that's where they should be, they've had a week on the training pitch with Postecoglou, and the flourishing on the match day as a result. And they're not going to have that next week with Fulham at home on the Monday, then Crystal Palace on the Friday. But I think no complaints from me at all for a Monday game this week, given the injury concerns.
It almost feels like a normal season, actually, doesn't it? This 1 week in a season without any European football and going out of the Carabao Cup early, playing Monday then Friday, almost feels like a midweek, essentially. We're going to have to deal with for the first time, apart from the Carabao Cup game, and one of the only times this season. But yeah, it's very strange when you look at the fixtures to have that Monday night game and then the Friday night game. Because we talked about a lot with the Luton game playing first. Obviously, it was an opportunity for Spurs to go top of the table and sit there for at least a day. As it turned out to be 2 weeks, which was lovely. And now we're playing on Monday night, so everyone else is playing before us. So we could drop down to third or fourth, I think, by the time we play on Monday. But then because we play on Friday, we've got the opportunity to open up a little gap on the Friday night before everyone else, as long as everything goes to plan, essentially.
Yeah, but I mean, when you look at the fixtures this weekend, Spurs could potentially still be top, maybe second, because Man City have got Brighton at home Saturday, really tough one. Liverpool are at home to Everton. I think we know
That's an
what will
easy 3
happen
points
there.
for Liverpool, isn't it?
A couple of dodgy VAR decisions, I reckon. And then Arsenal are away at Chelsea Saturday evening, and Chelsea coming into form probably at the wrong time for Tottenham, given that game's coming up in a couple of weeks. But they're going into this weekend's game against Arsenal, off the back of 2 good wins against Fulham and Burnley as well. So there's no guarantees Arsenal will be picking up maximum points in West London.
What I'm hearing there, Guesty, is that by the time we beat Crystal Palace on Friday night, we could be 6 points clear. Is that what you're saying?
I wasn't suggesting that, but if that happens, we will take it, because that would just be nice, especially because of the Arsenal fans at work as well.
Oh yes,
see
absolutely.
What they've got to say about that. So then Fulham Monday, in terms of the team, I mean, is it pretty straightforward who replaces Yves Bissouma in midfield?
Yeah, for me, I think Højbjerg starts in the midfield alongside Sarr. I can't see any other option really. Skip is obviously the only other option. I just think the way Bissouma plays, and the way Højbjerg plays, and the way Ange wants to set up his 2 in midfield, I think I would, if I were him, I would go with Højbjerg. But then again, in the 2 weeks where me and Ali were doing the pod when you were away, we had 1 week saying, Richarlison should start against Arsenal, and he was left on the bench. And the following week we said Richarlison will probably be on the bench for Liverpool, and then he started. So it'll probably be Skip, given my reputation.
Well, Skip will have had a good week on the training pitch with Ange Postecoglou. He wasn't in the England under-21 squad, so given his lack of football this season, he'll have been, trying to make his case to the manager because he needs these minutes, and he'll be doing whatever he can to start against Fulham. But for me, it's Højbjerg. I think he deserves it after the Luton game, because whilst, all the attention might have been on Mickey van der Ven for the winner, Cristian Romero for his performance, and James Maddison for producing that goal for van der Ven, Højbjerg did his job brilliantly. It was a game just completely made for him. Just do your job in midfield, keep it tight, and just get helping Spurs towards another 3 points. So for me, he's got to start.
I think you mentioned it as well there. I thought he was excellent when he came on against Liverpool as well, because
Yeah.
I thought I think me and Ali discussed it on the pod there that it was all very slow and laboured against Liverpool. I never thought we were going to score a goal, and he brought about a bit of energy in those last 5-10 minutes, trying to get the ball forward as quickly as possible to get at the Liverpool defence. So yeah, absolutely deserves an opportunity that Bissouma's given to him by his indiscipline, we should say.
Yeah. And I suppose there's probably going to be another question mark over who starts in attack. You'd think Dane Kulusevski, Son, providing he's fit and good enough to play, he'll be definitely in the team. He's probably this role on the left wing, but that might all depend on Brendan Johnson's fitness, who wasn't on Wales international duty. Obviously, suffered a hamstring injury in the North London derby against Arsenal last month. So he's been at the club, trying to work his way back to fitness, and Ange Postecoglou will be speaking to the media at Hotspur Way on Friday and providing his positive news on Brendan Johnson and Cristian Romero, Son Heung-min. Johnson could come into the equation. After all, he did start in the North London derby, so I think Postecoglou certainly got him in his thinking in terms of his first choice front three.
He's already said, hasn't he, that there's been lots of questions about Richarlison and his confidence, and does he need this? Does he need to do this? Does he need this start to get his confidence? And Ange Postecoglou has been quite honest and open, as you would expect for a man like Ange. He's openly said it's not about sentimentality. It's not about trying to build someone's confidence. I pick the team based on what I think is the right thing to do. So just because Richarlison's struggling doesn't mean he's going to keep giving him starts. Postecoglou knows he can't afford to keep doing that. He can't afford to have someone in the team that's underperforming. So yeah, I would not be surprised if he's fit to see Brennan Johnson in the starting 11 in place of Richarlison on Friday night, on Monday night. I'm getting ahead of myself to next Friday.
Right, I think that's it for today's latest episode of Gold Guest Talk Tottenham. The two of us will be back next week to discuss the Fulham game and then also look ahead to that Friday night game across the capital at Selhurst Park against Crystal Palace. As ever, just keep with us at football.london for all your latest Tottenham news. To grab our huge discount off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/goldguest. You can receive an extra 4 months for free, and there's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the episode description box.